So I'd like to just give you another opportunity to practice writing and balancing reactions. Again, it's given in words. You have to be able to write the compounds and balance the reactions. Mercury 2 oxide decomposes into its elements. All right, so you have to know what that word decompose means. It's a type of chemical reaction where it breaks down into its elements. Well, what are the elements that make up mercury 2 oxide? Just mercury. So I know it's just going to be mercury and oxygen on the right-hand side, because those are the way we write those two elements. Mercury 2 oxide, how do I write that? Well, you can find oxygen on the periodic table. It's in group 6. That means it's going to carry as an anion a 2- charge. And then mercury is a transition metal. So it's hard to tell, what the charge on it's going to be just by looking at the periodic table. So you can, let me see, mercury's right here. So that's why there's this Roman numeral. It tells you the charge is +2. So since it's +2 from the mercury and -2 from the oxide, then I can write it just like that. And then once you write it, you have to once you write everything down correctly, then you balance it, and you see that the 2 oxygen and only 1 over here. So if I put a 2 out front, well, I messed that up, so I just need to put a 2 out front of the mercury, and now I have a balanced equation. All right, I want you guys to be able to do this. Iron combines with oxygen to yield iron 3 oxide. What type of reaction do you think that is? It's something combining with oxygen. It's an element combining with oxygen. That's an example of a combustion reaction. It's also it's a type of synthesis reaction called a combustion reaction. All right. So I'd like for you to be able to do this. Work in your groups. See if you can do it. This is a good chance to check yourself to see how much you remember from chemistry last year or the year before, and how much work you need to do to catch up. Iron, it's a common element. The symbol I would expect is Fe. Combines with oxygen, diatomic element, to yield iron 3 oxide. Again, this is a transition metal. The 3 indicates that this particular iron is in this particular ionic compound is carrying a +3 charge. That's what that Roman numeral tells me. And so from that, I can figure out the formula of iron 3 oxide based on the charges of the oxide, which would be a -2, and the iron in this case would be a +3. So to get a neutral compound, I'm going to have 2 irons for every 3 oxygen in that particular compound. Okay? Again, after you write down everything correctly, then you look to see if you can balance it or if it needs to be balanced. In this case, it does. We have 3, an odd number of oxygens here, and an even. So in order to get that fixed, I'm going to have to put a 3 here and a 2 here. And when I do that, that gives me a total of how many iron here? That gives me a total of 4 iron, so I'm going to have to put a 4 right there. It's balanced. All right, now here's another example I would expect you could do by now. You should have memorized the formula for methane. That's one of the common alkanes. Burns in oxygen to give carbon dioxide and water. This is a classic hydrocarbon combustion reaction. And these classic hydrocarbon combustion reactions, this is a hydrocarbon, remember, because you memorized that. And burns in oxygen, that. To give carbon dioxide, you can figure out the formula of that based on the name, and water, everybody knows, is H2O. So you can write everything down. The thing I want to tell you now is this is a combustion reaction, and when you have a hydrocarbon combustion reaction, the products are always carbon dioxide and water. Sometimes you can also have some carbon monoxide mixed in if you have a limited supply of oxygen. Okay? So similar to the case before, if you have a limited supply of oxygen, you could form carbon monoxide. But unless somebody tells you different, you always assume that the products are carbon dioxide and water. And in a big mess of it, if you've got a lot of fuel, you can sometimes end up with also some carbon monoxide. We'll look at that a little bit closer here in a couple minutes. But for now, you should just be able to write it down and balance it so you can recognize this is a combustion reaction. The product of combusting an alkane, a hydrocarbon, with oxygen gives carbon dioxide and water. Okay, and so I'll balance this. You should try to do it yourself.